been a year of crazy weather, wildfires, floods, heat waves, hurricanes. It's no wonder that so many people are looking for a place to escape, and a lot of them are looking to Richmond. If you're curious about what the weather and climate are like here in Richmond and how they compare to other parts of the country, this video is for you. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Today is the right day to be making a video about climate issues here in Richmond. The snow is falling, it's 25 degrees, and the James River is at 17 feet, 5 feet above flood level. With all of the crazy weather we've been seeing recently, I've been getting lots of questions about Richmond, Virginia. Many of you are thinking about a move here to avoid hurricanes, wildfires, or extreme heat. So let's dive in, starting with the question, how does Richmond rank with other U.S. cities when it comes to extreme climate risk? I'm grateful to say that we don't rank very high. Here's a list of the top 10 U.S. cities that are facing extreme climate risk. Miami, with hurricanes and flooding. Phoenix, extreme heat and water scarcity. New York City, coastal flooding. San Francisco, wildfires and earthquakes. Houston, hurricanes and extreme heat. Los Angeles, with wildfires and drought. New Orleans, with hurricanes and flooding. And then these last three, Tampa, Charleston, South Carolina, and Cape Coral, Florida, all dealing with hurricanes and rising sea levels. So what is the weather like in Richmond? Well, we have a moderate climate, which means we have 4 distinct seasons. Let's break them down one by one. We have hot and relatively humid summers going from June through August with average highs in the mid-80s compared to highs in Phoenix of 103 or Seattle around 78. We do have occasional thunderstorms, which can produce a lot of rain, lightning, and even some hail. Our fall season extends from September through November. Many Richmonders say this is their favorite time of the year as the humidity drops and the leaves change beautiful colors. Temperatures are mild, getting down into the 60s and 70s. The winter season here extends from December through February. Winters in Richmond are relatively mild with average lows in the 30s. That's a lot colder than Miami with an average low around 63, but it's a lot warmer than Boston where the average low is 23. We do get occasional snow, but major snowstorms are pretty rare. Average snowfall here is about 8.8 inches, and February tends to be the snowiest month. Over the last 2 seasons, we've gotten hardly anything, but we're making up for it this winter. We've already had 4 snows totaling over a foot of accumulation. Today, we're expecting another 3 to 6 inches. Richmond does experience occasional ice storms, leading to hazardous driving conditions and sometimes power outages. The spring season extends from March through May. Spring is another beautiful time to live in Richmond with the flowers blooming, the temperatures are comfortable. The weather can be a bit unpredictable though, with thunderstorms and occasional heavy rain. On average, we get about 44 inches of rain each year here in Richmond. As you're already starting to see, Richmond doesn't get a lot of extreme weather. That's a little boring, I know, but in this case, we like boring. Let's look at 6 climate risks and see how Richmond compares to other parts of the country. Hurricanes are a huge concern for many U.S. states, especially those along the Gulf and Atlantic coasts. Florida got pounded by 3 hurricanes last year, Debbie, Helene, and Milton. It took hundreds of lives and cost billions of dollars in damage. Over the past 25 years, the 5 states that have experienced the most hurricane damage are Florida, Texas, Louisiana, North Carolina, and New York. Louisiana got pounded by Hurricane Katrina in 2005, which flooded 80% of New Orleans. Richmond, though not directly on the coast, can still experience the remnants of hurricanes as they pass by, resulting in heavy rainfall and flooding. During this century, each of the highest levels for James River flooding occurred right after a hurricane passed through. When Hurricane Isabel hit in 2003, the river topped 28 feet. Gaston in 2004, the river was over 24 feet. Irene in 2011, the river topped 22 feet. And Matthew in 2016, the river was almost 21 feet. After getting badly flooded by storms like Hurricane Agnes in 1972, the city of Richmond completed its flood wall in 1995. It protects significant areas of the city from flood damage, including Manchester and 150 acres in Chaco Valley. During heavy rainfall, like we've had this past week, it can be activated as a precautionary measure, and it was for the first time since 2020. The flood wall has played a crucial role in protecting Richmond from the impact of extreme weather. One unpleasant reality about Richmond is that heavy rainfall can overwhelm the city's aging sewer system, which handles both stormwater and sewage. This causes a mix of raw sewage and stormwater to flow directly into the James River. Yuck. Efforts are underway to upgrade the infrastructure, but it's a costly and complex process. As I've already mentioned, because Richmond is an inland city, it's less directly affected by hurricanes compared to coastal cities like New Orleans. However, it has experienced notable damage in the past from storms like Hurricane Gaston in 2004, which caused millions of dollars of damage and major flooding. Here's a quick hack for you. Before you buy a house in Richmond, be sure to ask your agent where it sits relative to the 100 and 500-year floodplains. You'll sleep much better at night knowing that you're high and dry. Have you seen the movie Twisters? Are you worried that moving to Richmond might just get you sucked right out of your shoes? Well, I'm glad to say that Virginia experiences far fewer tornadoes than the Midwestern states in Tornado Alley, but they do still pop up occasionally. On Good Friday of last year, there were 11 confirmed sightings about 30 miles south of Richmond. Always pay attention to weather alerts, but if you move to Richmond, tornadoes are not going to be a big issue. Earthquakes are a major threat for states like California and Alaska, which lie along active fault lines. Washington, Oregon, and Nevada round out the top 5 earthquake-prone states. Virginia, on the other hand, experiences very few earthquakes. The U.S. Geologic Survey highlights that 75% of the U.S. could experience damaging earthquakes, but Virginia is in a relatively low-risk area. Having said that, a 2.8 magnitude earthquake did rattle Henrico County on January 14th. Might have knocked over a lawn chair or two. I didn't feel it personally, but it's a healthy reminder that even in the safest places, we have to stay on our toes. All right, quick time out while I check in my grandkids. We're sledding here at Forest Hill Park, which has one of the most popular sledding hills in all of Richmond. As soon as I know they're okay, I'll be right back. Remember, if hurricanes or wildfires or tornadoes are making you think about a move to Richmond, Virginia, my number's on the screen. Text or call anytime. In January, the world watched in horror as communities around LA went up in flames. Over 16,000 structures were destroyed, almost 58,000 acres burned, and 29 lives lost. Wildfires are a major issue in states like California and Texas, where dry conditions and strong winds combine to create devastating fires like these. The same is true in Colorado, Arizona, and Oregon. Virginia, with its humid climate, is much less prone to wildfires. Now, last year there was a pretty big fire about 2 hours west of here that burned 700 acres in Shenandoah National Park. But thankfully, wildfires just aren't going to be an issue here in Richmond. Droughts are a big concern in major parts of the U.S., especially in the West. Some of the states hit hardest by droughts in the last 25 years are California, Texas, Arizona, Nevada, and New Mexico. Frequent and intense droughts strain water resources, impact agriculture, and increase the risk of wildfires. Richmond, with its ample rainfall, is much less vulnerable to droughts than these drier regions. You can probably hear the water trickling in the background behind me, and helps that we have a major river flowing right through the heart of the city. But that doesn't mean that our area is immune. During the spring and summer, it's not uncommon for us to go 2, 3, or even 4 months without significant rainfall. It's probably not going to elicit a lot of sympathy from anybody who lives in Death Valley, but for our local farmers, that can have a real effect on the harvest. Richmond's not going to impress you with its hurricanes, tornadoes, earthquakes, or wildfires, and that's okay. But there is one climate-related area where we can claim bragging, or maybe I should say sneezing rights. Allergies. In 2024, Richmond was named the 7th worst allergy capital of the U.S. We're not just talking about the spring either. Allergies can be a year-round issue in Richmond due to its humid climate and lush vegetation. If you have major allergies, consider states like Arizona and Nevada, where drier climates produce lower pollen counts. Definitely think twice before moving to Richmond. As we start to wrap up, let me address one final climate risk. This one isn't going to endanger your life, but it's definitely going to pinch your pocketbook. Home buyers in states known for extreme weather are going to face some painful home insurance costs. Currently, the states with the highest home insurance rates are Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and Florida. Each of these states is prone to natural disasters like tornadoes, hurricanes, wildfires, and hail. In Oklahoma, an average homeowner is going to pay $5,858 for insurance. In Kansas, it's $4,843. Nebraska, $4,800. In Florida, $4,419. But that same policy can climb to almost $10,000 for a home in Miami. I hate to think of how the insurance rates are going to go up in California because of these recent wildfires. Thanks to Virginia's relatively mild climate, the average homeowner policy in Richmond costs just $1,445 a year. That's 25% less than the national average. As I said at the beginning, Richmond's weather and climate are a bit boring. But if that means lower insurance rates, more green grass, and fewer flooded basements and ripped off roofs, I can live without the excitement. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit like or subscribe. If you'd like a copy of my free Richmond home buying guide, click the link in the description below. And if you have any questions about the real estate market here in Richmond, text or call anytime. Well, thanks for joining me for this snowy day here in Richmond. I'll see you on the next video.